fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver. The Lone Ranger. His faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains, led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fella. Hi-yo, Silver!
Deke Humbert, a hard-faced man with bulging muscles, looked back frequently to make sure he was not being followed as he guided his big black horse along a narrow trail that led uphill in the rugged, desolate mountains.
Easy, boy, steady.
Finally, he turned into a gap and drew rein. Half a dozen men who were camped in the gap arose to meet Deke Humbert.
Hi, Deke.
Howdy, how are things?
Why do you take care of my horse?
Yeah, I'll do it, Deke. Come on, boy.
Give it a good rub down.
All right.
Only 6 of you here.
Well, it's all right now, Deke.
I'll need at least 20 men to handle the job I've got in mind. I thought I made that clear to you, Jeb.
Why, sure, Deke. I understood you, and I sent out the word. There'll be more boys here before nightfall. We'll have at least 20 men for the job.
What is the job, Deke? All Jeb could tell us is it'd pay off in a big way.
And so it will. There's an Army supply train heading for Fort Franklin. Aboard the wagons, there'll be arms and ammunition.
We don't need arms and ammunition.
Also, the Army payroll.
Aye.
3 months of pay for every soldier at the fort.
That'd be a sizable amount of cash.
Yeah, enough to split up 20 ways and still give every man enough to make the job worthwhile.
But, Deke, how can just 20 of us attack that supply train? There'll be soldiers guarding the wagons.
Plenty of them. We won't have to fight them. Chief Grey Wolf will take care of them for us.
Grey Wolf?
Yeah. I just came from his village. He's agreed to go along with my plan.
Well, he must be loco. That'd mean the whole doggone army would attack him for violating the treaty.
That's where my careful planning comes in. The Army won't be able to lift a hand against Grey Wolf.
What are you talking about?
You see, boys, the Indians were given treaty land with the understanding that they'd be unmolested as long as they stayed within the boundaries.
I know about that.
They've got the right to keep everyone else off their land, which means that they've got the right to punish trespassers. Now, if the Army supply wagons cross the boundary and trespass on the Indian treaty land, what happens?
Well, the Indians attack.
And they're within their rights.
Exactly.
But the men guiding the army wagons wouldn't be fools enough to enter treaty land.
The men guiding the army wagons would be fools not to enter the treaty land. I'll make 'em rich for doing it.
You mean you bought 'em?
You boys remember Matt and Tim who helped us on the Canville bank raid? Yeah?
Sure thing.
Well, they're the guides for the army wagons.
Hey. But, Deke, what'll Grey Wolf get out of it?
The arms and ammunition. After the massacre, we'll move in and collect the money.
Boys, are you sure everything is set?
Well, all but one little detail.
I knew there'd be a hitch in it somewhere.
I was afraid of it.
No, don't worry, boys. Grey Wolf will handle the situation. That grizzled old savage is more than a match for a 17-year-old mission engine.
A mission engine?
Yeah. He got a white man's education, which I claim's a bad thing for an engine. And he's opposing Grey Wolf's taking part in my plans. But Grey Wolf will handle him.
Someone's coming.
Huh? See who it is.
Yeah.
Must be one of our men. No one else knows the way to this hideout?
It is. It's Matt Dale. Hi, Matt.
Yeah, I'm glad he's here. Left him with Grey Wolf to learn the final news and report to me.
Ho there, ho there.
Hi, man.
Hi, boys.
You got here almost as soon as I did, Matt.
Traveled fast, Deke. I knew you'd want to hear the news from the Indian village.
Is it good or bad?
It's good.
Yeah, what happened?
Deke, you should have seen the way old Grey Wolf took care of that young Injun with big ideas.
Yeah? What'd Grey Wolf do?
He called a meeting of the elders of the tribe. He brought charges against the young'un. Charged him with insubordination and no end of things. And the elders went along with their chief.
What happens to the young mission engine? Is he sentenced to death?
Practically.
What do you mean, practically?
He's to be banished from the tribe by being tied to the back of a wild Mustang and turned loose. You know what that means. Mustang will smash him against a rock, or roll on him, or something. Anyhow, it's just a matter of time before the kid is killed.
Now, boys, we're all set.
The Lone Ranger and Tonto were traveling northward through the valley of the Tongue River. When they drew rein at a spring to water their horses, the masked man said,
Tonto, we're near the border of the Sioux Indians' treaty land.
Only Sioux got right to be there.
Yes, that's true. Under the treaty, even soldiers can't enter their lands without inviting trouble.
Better we stay out of that territory.
Yes, indeed. We'll follow the river.
Wasabi, look ahead in valley.
A rider. He headed this way.
He looked like young Indian.
He's coming fast. Hello. That pony seems to be out of control.
Plenty wild Mustang.
The Indian's tied to its back. It may roll on him.
Or crush him against rock.
All right, we'll try to catch it. Come on, Silver!
As the Lone Ranger and Tonto urged their horses forward, the oncoming Mustang changed its course and headed toward boulders against which to crush the helplessly tied rider.
Come on, Silver!
Racing to intercept the Mustang, the Lone Ranger and Tonto loosened their lariats. The great horse Silver and Tonto's paint horse Scout seemed to know that a life depended on their speed. They closed in, one on each side of the Mustang, so their riders could throw the lariats.
Now, ho, Silver, ho!
When the ropes dropped over the Mustang's neck, Scout and Silver braced and held them tight. The captured animal kicked, bucked, and squealed in fury.
Easy, steady, big fellow. I'll cut the boy loose. Hold steady, Silver.
Dodging the Mustang's flailing hoops, the masked man slashed the rawhide thongs that bound the Indian to its back. As the boy leaped to safety, the Lone Ranger quickly cut the ropes. The released Mustang raced away at top speed as the masked man turned to the young Indian.
You had a narrow escape.
Yes, I thank you for saving my life. But you wear a mask.
Please accept us as friends.
I do so. I ask no more questions.
Who are you?
Tall Pine of the Ogallala Sioux. White men call me Joe.
Oh, you speak English very well, Joe. Tell me, how old are you?
17. I returned to my people from a mission school last month.
Oh? Who tied you to that Mustang?
My people did it. It was their way of putting me to death. They knew the wild pony would soon kill me.
You break tribal law?
No. I tried to keep my people from attacking soldiers.
Oh. Joe, you'd better tell Tonto and me about that.
Chief Grey Wolf and a white man named Deke Humbert plan to attack army wagons that will travel tonight to reach Fort Franklin.
Fort Franklin isn't far from here.
Neither is the Indian village. When I heard of the plans, I tried to persuade my people not to take part in it. Grey Wolf became angry.
Him make trouble plenty time.
He's a bad man. And Deke Humbert is worse. Humbert is the one who learned what the wagons carry.
Well, let's see, this is the first of the month. It's time for payroll money to go to the fort.
The wagons carry money. Also rifles and ammunition.
And that what Grey Wolf want?
Yes. My people have no use for white man's money. But they want rifles.
So that's it.
Deke Humbert expects the Indians to massacre the soldiers and take the rifles and ammunition. After the fight, Humbert's men will ride in and get the money.
They want the Indians to do the fighting and take the blame.
Oh, the Indians will have reason to attack.
Why?
The army wagons will be in Indian treaty land.
Well, the soldiers know better than to trespass on that land.
Soldiers are not familiar with this country. To them, it all looks alike. They must depend on their civilian scouts.
Yes, of course.
The scouts with the army train are members of Deke Humbert's gang.
Joe, are you sure?
I am sure.
How do you know?
I and all my people heard the talk when Deke Humbert held council with Grey Wolf.
So those scouts are going to lead the army wagons and guards into an ambush.
Yes. I tried to leave the village to tell the colonel at Fort Franklin, but I was caught by Grey Wolf.
Did he know your intention?
He suspected I was trying to reach the fort. He called a council of the elders of the tribe. They sentenced me to be tied to the back of a wild pony.
And that nearly always mean death.
I would have been killed. But for you who saved me.
Joe, you can never return to your people.
No. I'm banished. There's no place for me to go.
Yes, there is. Go to Fort Franklin. The Army needs young men like you.
Oh, it is too late.
Too late?
Even if I had a horse, I could not tell the soldiers about the plans in time to prevent the massacre.
Kimosabe, maybe we warn soldier, prevent massacre.
I'd like to do more than that.
What more could be done?
Deke Humbert has gotten away with many crooked schemes. I'd like to put him where he'll never again make trouble.
Oh, now I know you are my friend. I hope we meet again.
So do I, Joe.
I'll walk to the fort. Goodbye.
Adios.
Adios.
Easy.
The big fellow, Scout. Easy, fella.
Come on, Silver.
As Joe started toward the fort, the Lone Ranger and Tonto rode rapidly in the opposite direction, hoping to sight the army wagons. The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger adventure. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue. Late that afternoon, Captain Jason Parker, the Army paymaster, and the two treacherous civilian scouts halted their horses. They were about a half a mile ahead of the slow-moving army wagons and the escort of soldiers. The paymaster frowned as he studied the landscape.
Tim, you sure we're on the right trail?
Positive of it, Captain.
What do you think, Matt?
This is the route to the fort, Captain. Tim and I have been over too many times to be mistaken.
This is only my second trip to Fort Franklin. I'll have to take your word for it, but it doesn't look right to me.
This country all looks alike to a stranger.
Tim's right, Captain.
I don't want to have any trouble with the Sioux by trespassing on the treaty land.
I should say not.
Now, don't you worry, Captain. Matt and
the
I have
wagons
been
are coming. We'll make camp for the night.
But camp? Here?
Yes. It'll soon be dark, and I'd rather not approach any closer to the treaty lands in darkness.
But I thought we were going to keep going until we reached the fort.
I'm changing the plans. We'll complete the trip tomorrow.
But I don't think
it's my duty to deliver the wagons intact and to avoid trouble with the Indians. Detachment! Ho! Circle the wagons and make camp!
After dark, with the wagons drawn into a circle, the campfires burned low, and Captain Parker retired to his own wagon to sleep. The soldiers, all except the sentry, rolled into their blankets for the night. The Lone Ranger and Tonto, after making a wide sweep of the area near the treaty lands, sighted the campfires of the soldiers and halted their horses.
Tonto, those soldiers aren't on the treaty land. They're not far from it.
That right? If them travel more, them cross boundary. Then Indian attack.
They've been taken a long way off the Fort Franklin trail.
And that proves scouts crooked.
Easy, steady, big fella. Leave the horses here, Tonto.
Easy, Scout, easy, fella. We go closer to camp.
Yes, I'd like to talk to the officer in charge.
Maybe soldiers on guard.
If so, we'll have to get past them.
Keeping close to the ground and moving as silently as shadows, the Lone Ranger and Tonto drew close to the circle of wagons and saw two men in civilian clothes talking to a uniformed guard. The masked man whispered, "They must be the guides." That's right.
We're just going to stretch our legs, guard. We'll be back soon.
We'll follow those men. The two civilian scouts walked across the rock-strewn ground until they considered it safe to talk without fear of being overheard. There, they sat down on one of the many boulders.
Matt, I don't think the Indians will attack the outfit while it's here. You?
No, I don't, Tim. They'll attack on the treaty lands, but nowhere else.
If that captain hadn't had such a fool notion of stopping for the night, we'd be in the treaty lands right now.
You think the captain suspects anything?
Yeah, he's just overcautious, that's all. We'll be breaking camp at daylight, then we'll guide the wagons where the Redskins will be waiting.
Redskins are probably waiting right now.
So are Deke and his gang, but it can't be helped. You just have to wait.
You know where Deke and the boys are waiting?
Yeah, on the far side of the hill. They'll stay there until all the gunfire's over before they show up.
I hoped we'd be through with this job tonight.
A few hours more or less won't make any difference.
Those two, yes.
Redskin.
Keep your voices down, or you may never see daybreak.
Now hold your fire. We don't hanker for trouble.
Take their guns, Tonto.
Let me get them.
Now, mister, if we talk things over
Which
here...
wagon is the commanding officer's?
The one this way. It's a little apart from the ones that are drawn into a circle.
See, we're willing to be friendly.
Lie
we
on
don't
the
want
ground. Face down.
But
Face down.
All right, I'm doing it. You let us tell you about what we're...
I know all about you, crooks. Your plans are known.
A few minutes later, when the scouts were effectively tied and gagged, the masked man and his Indian companion crept close to one of the guards, then suddenly seized him. He had no chance to make an outcry. He also was tied and gagged. Tonto remained to watch him, while the Lone Ranger went alone to the commandant's wagon. He shook the officer gently.
Wake up, Captain.
What?
Steady.
Who?
Don't be alarmed. I'm wearing a mask.
A mask?
Please keep your voice down and listen to me. People call me The Lone Ranger.
Say, am I awake or dreaming?
You're awake, Captain.
If this is a joke or a trick...
I came to warn you of a trick. One's been planned to massacre you and your men and steal your supplies.
What?
I'll tell you all I know.
Quickly and simply, the Lone Ranger reported what he had learned and told about the capture of the guard and the guides. And then the captain said,
An incredible story. You say you're the Lone Ranger, but how do I know you're telling the truth?
A letter in my pocket will be of interest to you. I'll light a match so you can read it. Right, here's the letter.
The letter was signed in the familiar handwriting of a high army official whose judgment the captain could not question. The captain folded the letter slowly and returned it as he said,
Sir, I'm indebted to you for the warning. I've nothing to say about the Indians as long as they remain on their own land. Those crooked civilian scouts, they should be shot.
They're no worse than the other members of Humbert's gang.
They should all be shot, including Humbert.
No one has ever been able to prove anything against them, Captain. Even now, you can do nothing to them.
But a plot like this...
Humbert and his men won't even appear till after you and all your men are victims of an Indian massacre.
But there must be some way to jail a pack of crooks like those.
There is.
How?
Let their scheme proceed.
What do you mean?
Humbert and his men are on the far side of the hill. They're out of sight, but near enough to hear gunfire. They're waiting for that gunfire.
Yes?
With proper planning, I'm sure we could give them a hot reception.
Deke Humbert had nearly 20 men in his gang on the far side of the hill. They had been waiting for hours, and midnight found them grumbling and restless.
Deke, has anyone looked over the hill for the past hour?
Yeah, I did, just a few minutes ago.
Everything's still quiet where the soldiers are camped?
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it, boys. We just have to wait.
I'm tired of waiting.
I told you, boys, the Army's not on treaty land.
They're mighty close to it.
I know that. When they stopped there for the night, I thought the Indians might make their move, but they haven't done it.
Now what'll happen?
Tim and Matt will see that the soldiers enter the treaty land. Don't worry. The Indians will attack tomorrow instead of tonight. What's the difference?
There's nothing we can do in the meantime.
Not a thing. You just wait here until the gunfire starts. Then we know the Indians are attacking, we start out. The Indians will be through with their job by the time we get there.
This waiting gets on my nerves. Can't even have lights here in the camp.
Turn in, get a good night's sleep. We'll need it.
What's that?
Hey, that's gunfire.
Rifles. Army rifles.
I hear Indian war cries.
So do I.
The Indians are attacking the soldiers.
Good for Grey Wolf.
I knew we could count on him.
Get the horses.
Deke, let's go to the hilltop and watch the fight.
We'll do as soon as we got you to ride. See to your guns, boys. Take plenty of ammunition.
This is our night to get ready.
All right.
The spirits of the outlaws soared as they buckled on spare guns and tightened cinches ready for riding. Presently, all were ready.
All set, boys? We'll go as far as the top of the hill, no farther. We wait right there until the Indians have moved away.
That's right, Deke.
We take no chances on starting a fight with the Indians. Now let's go.
Come on.
The outlaws raced to the top of the hill where they drew rein. When they looked down into the moonlit valley, they saw the wagons scattered. A couple of them turned on the side, and a scene that looked like a massacre.
Yeah. Those redskins did their work fast.
Must have caught the soldiers by complete surprise.
Those soldiers didn't have a chance.
I hope the redskins left the cash for us.
I'm sure they did. Let's go get it. Get him back. Come on.
The army campfires had burned low, and darkness made it impossible for the outlaws to see details. But the wagons in disorder, the men lying on the ground, and the horses seemingly wandering at will, gave evidence of a quick and awful massacre.
Well, here we are, boys. All set to take the cash. And there should be plenty of it.
A pushover, huh, Deke?
I told you there'd be nothing to it.
We better keep our guns handy in case one or two of them critters are still alive.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Everyone dismounted?
Yeah.
All right, go through the wagon systematically.
The first man to move will be shot.
Hey. Who said that?
I did.
He's over there, behind that wagon.
Man's back in his place from here.
Hey, what's this mean?
You're all covered.
They're not dead.
We're all alive.
It's a trap.
Take them, boys. Out.
All right, use your guns. Shoot.
Men leaped to their feet on every side of Humbert's outlaws, and those who wanted gunplay found angry soldiers glad to accommodate them. A number of crooks were wounded by the opening shots, Others quickly realized that theirs was a hopeless situation. The Lone Ranger shouted,
Throw down your gun and raise your hand.
I quit. I don't want to hear.
What about you, Humbert?
You, Mask, I'll kill you.
Yes?
No, my arm is busted.
You wanted more gunplay.
And you got it, you scheming murdering crook. We caught the pack of you red-handed.
My arm.
We'll bandage it before we take you and your pal to the fort.
You and that Mask man, you schemed the whole thing.
It was the masked man's idea, Humbert, to let you trap yourself. It was also his idea to hog-tie those crooked guides, and they'll stay tied till we reach the fort.
Oh, Captain.
Yes. Have you any more good ideas?
Well, just one. When you reach the fort, you might thank a young Indian named Joe.
Indeed I shall.
He may be a soldier by the time you get there. If so, he'll be a good one. Otto, will you stay with the troopers and serve as guide for the rest of the trip to Fort Franklin?
Me do it.
Oh, you leaving us?
Yes, Captain. I'll ride ahead to the fort and report what happened here.
Very well.
The Commandant and the young Indian will be equally interested. Adios.
Goodbye. And thanks for your help.
Easy, steady, big fella. Come on, fiddle there.
Well, Humbert, aren't you wondering who the masked man is?
I know who he is, but I didn't suspect he was in these parts. I didn't figure on fighting the Lone Ranger.
I'll fiddle there. Aye!
This is a feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated, created by George W. Trendle, produced by Trendle Campbell Muir Incorporated, and directed by Charles D. Livingston. Tonight's drama was written by Fran Stryker. The part of the Lone Ranger is played...
You've been listening to the OTR Gold Network. Find more classic radio at otrgold.com.